here. Imagine a war that lasted for 335 years, yet not a single shot was fired. No one was injured, and not a drop of blood was shed. Sounds impossible, right? Well, welcome to the bizarre and true story of the longest war in history, a conflict so peaceful that everyone completely forgot it was even happening. Our story begins here, on the stunningly beautiful Isles of Scilly, a tiny archipelago off the southwestern tip of Cornwall, England. These serene islands became the unlikely setting for a war against one of the world's great naval powers, the Netherlands. But how on earth did this happen? To understand this peculiar conflict, we have to rewind all the way back to the 17th century, to the brutal and chaotic English Civil War. England was torn in two. On one side, you had the parliamentarians, led by Oliver Cromwell, fighting for the power of Parliament. On the other, the royalists, loyal to King Charles I. The war raged for years, and by 1651, the royalists were on their last legs. Their navy had been decimated, and their last remaining stronghold was, you guessed it, the Isles of Scilly. Now, enter the Dutch. The Netherlands had been allies with the English parliamentarians, largely because they had been fighting their own war for independence from Spain, and the English had helped them out. So, they were on the same team. However, the royalist fleet, operating from Scilly, had become a massive pain. They were essentially acting as pirates, raiding Dutch merchant ships and causing a lot of financial damage. The Dutch were not happy. So, in March 1651, the Dutch sent an impressive fleet of 12 warships, led by Admiral Martin Tromp, to the Isles of Scilly. Their mission was simple: demand compensation from the royalists for the damaged ships and captured goods. The royalist commander on the islands, Sir John Grenville, basically told them to get lost. He refused to pay a penny. Frustrated, and with no other option, Admiral Tromp did something that would echo through history in the strangest way possible. On March 30th, 1651, he formally declared war. Here's the crucial detail. He declared war not on England itself, but specifically on the Isles of Scilly. This was a very targeted declaration. A strategic move to isolate the royalist pirates without starting a full-blown war with the entire English Commonwealth. And then, nothing happened. Just a few months later, in June 1651, the parliamentarian fleet under Admiral Robert Blake arrived at the Isles of Scilly. They quickly forced the royalist garrison to surrender. The English Civil War was effectively over for the islands. The Dutch fleet, seeing that their problem had been solved for them, simply sailed home. They had achieved their objective without firing a shot. The pirate threat was gone, and business could resume as usual. And in the flurry of activity and the shifting political landscape of the time, everyone just forgot. The Dutch forgot they had declared war. The English forgot they had been declared war upon. And the residents of the Isles of Scilly certainly had no idea they were technically at war with the Netherlands. For the next 3 centuries, life went on. Generations were born, lived their lives, and passed away on the peaceful islands. They farmed, they fished, they weathered storms, completely oblivious to their official state of war. There were no blockades, no battles, no tense standoffs. Dutch tourists probably even visited the islands, enjoying the scenery, with no clue they were on enemy soil. The declaration of war gathered dust in archives, a forgotten footnote in a long and complex history. It was a war that existed only on a piece of paper, lost somewhere in the annals of time. The world changed dramatically around them. Empires rose and fell, revolutions reshaped nations, and 2 world wars ravaged the globe. But on the Isles of Scilly, their private little war with the Netherlands slumbered on, completely undisturbed. This brings us to 1985. A local historian and the chairman of the Isles of Scilly Council, a man named Roy Duncan, was doing some research. He was digging through old records and myths about the islands when he stumbled upon the legend of this forgotten war. At first, it seemed like a tall tale, a piece of local folklore. But the more he dug, the more he realized it might actually be true. Intrigued, he wrote to the Dutch embassy in London to ask if they had any record of this declaration of war from 1651. He probably expected a polite letter back saying it was just a myth. But to his astonishment, the embassy staff checked their archives and confirmed it. The declaration was real. And, more importantly, there was no record of a peace treaty ever being signed. Technically, after 334 years, the Isles of Scilly and the Netherlands were still at war. The discovery caused a sensation. It was a delightful, absurd piece of news that captured the world's imagination. Here was a war with no conflict, a rivalry with no animosity. It was the friendliest war in history. Roy Duncan, seeing a golden opportunity for a bit of fun to promote his beloved islands, decided it was high time to officially end the hostilities. He invited the Dutch ambassador Jonker Rein Heidkoper to come to the islands and finally sign a peace treaty. The ambassador, clearly a man with a great sense of humor, enthusiastically agreed. On April 17, 1986, exactly 335 years after the war was declared, Ambassador Heidkoper arrived on the Isles of Scilly. In a wonderfully cheerful and slightly surreal ceremony, he and Roy Duncan signed the official peace treaty. The ambassador joked that it must have been a terrifying experience for the islanders to know we could have attacked at any moment. The signing ceremony was a celebration, not of conflict, but of peace, friendship, and the wonderful quirks of history. It turned a historical oddity into a moment of international goodwill. The story of the 335-year war became a symbol for the islands, a testament to their unique and peaceful history. It's a story that highlights how easily things can be lost to time, and how wonderfully strange the past can be. So, what does this all mean? The 335-year war is more than just a great pub quiz question. It's a beautiful reminder that history isn't always about grand battles and dramatic conflicts. Sometimes, it's about the quiet, forgotten moments in between. It's a story about a declaration of war that led not to bloodshed, but to centuries of uninterrupted peace, and eventually, to a celebration of friendship. It's a perfect illustration of how a potential conflict can simply fizzle out, and how a shared piece of bizarre history can bring people together. In a world so often defined by its wars, the story of the Isles of Scilly and the Netherlands is a refreshing tale of the war that was a war, with no losers, only friends who took a few centuries to make it official. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into one of history's strangest footnotes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more weird and wonderful stories from the past. See you next time.